Thank you very much indeed for coming today, and thank you to IWOCA for inviting me to come and speak again at one of the meetups. These are really good. I love these meetups because I get to meet quite a few people that are actually selling on the ground. They're actually every day involved in dealing with customers and dealing with some of the issues that we work with. Today I'm going to talk about international online marketplace cash flows. Sounds like a really complex and hideous title. What I'm actually going to do is give you some tips and advice to avoid losing profit through currency loss when you're selling internationally. Okay? So, before I get into it, how many people here have sold internationally? Yeah, so we've got quite a few, maybe more than half. How many people are considering selling internationally? Okay, so out of the people, yeah, we've got a couple of people there kind of thinking about it. It's a massive market, obviously. It's 6 billion consumers that can buy your products. It's very simple why you would want to sell internationally, and I can understand why. The point of today, what is today about for me here? What am I going to do? I'm going to give you some top tips. So if you're already selling internationally, I'm going to tell you in ways which you can increase profit on the current sales that you're making. I'm also going to help you access new target markets that you might have looked at and thought, how do I go about that? Is it going to work for me financially? I'm going to provide some advice on what you can do there. I'm going to help reduce the cost of your stock, importantly, from overseas. So if you're sourcing from overseas, I'll help you figure out how you can reduce the cost of that and become more competitive. And if you're considering, those people that were considering new markets, I'm going to help you decide which markets to go for and help make that decision. Shall I go ahead and sell internationally or not? I'm going to help you identify those markets today a little more as well. And again, I'm going to help you reduce the cost of your stock. It's kind of transferable across the two topics. So the top tips is what I'm going to be kind of focusing on. Before I do that, I just thought I'd like to tell you who I work for. The company I work for is called Currencies Direct. We're a wholesale foreign exchange broker, established in 1996, reasonable turnover with an international footprint. What we do as our core business is we buy and sell currency. So we sell currency, we buy currency. If you've got currency, euros, dollars, we buy and sell that with you. We help you move it around the globe more effectively than you can do through your retail bank because they're very expensive. So let's dive right in. Now, more recently, since this focus happened on the online retailers for us, there are 400 SME online retailers currently using online marketplaces within Currencies Direct client base, which is quite an interesting stat. We have over 400 online retailers that are every day using our services to help them trade internationally. I suppose that's what's given me the little bit of experience that I've got today to offer you to figure out how to help. We had an e-tailer journey ourselves. I was the beginnings of the e-tailer experience within Currencies Direct. In 2008, the first e-tail client came to us and said, I need your help. It was a comic book company that was buying Japanese comics, you know, like the manga style comics. They're buying them from Japan, and they're saying, we sell internationally exclusively, how can you help us? And we started kind of helping them streamline that process of buying Japanese yen so that they could make their comics cheaper and be more competitive or increase their profits. That happened in 2008. So in September 2009, so a good 18 months later, we launched something called collection accounts. Collection accounts are accounts located overseas in different currencies that enable you to collect money from overseas sales. So you can have a euro account that collects European sales in euros rather than being left to the mercy of the retail banking sector and having to collect it in your GBP account back at home. Okay. That happened in 2008. In December 2010, my world was changed when Amazon saw what we were doing and said, we need your help. And they started referring clients to us for the Italian marketplace. They'd launched an Italian marketplace and they said, we need your help. Can you offer our sellers international bank accounts for the Italian marketplace? Because we can't pay them in Italy unless they're based in Italy. And very few of the clients that they were dealing with were actually based in Italy. They were based all around the world, mainly in the UK and the US. So that started happening in 2010. In March 2012, we developed our very own exclusive web page within our main currenciesdirect.com website to help e-tailers. And now we've got over 400 clients, we've transacted over £75 million. The future is about partnerships and new markets and how we can expand what we're doing and how, in the ways in which we can help online retailers. So let me start my presentation properly now. The international sourcing decision. So let's first focus on you buying stock from overseas. Who sources internationally here? Anybody? Anybody buys product from overseas? Yeah, it can be a bit of a nightmare at times, can't it? But that decision of whether to buy or not from overseas is based on one very simple thing in my eyes, is the amount of profit that you can make. If it's profitable, you will probably say, yeah, okay, I'm going to buy from China because it's costing me less so I can make more profit. So let me give you an example of this and put some kind of numbers to this. As soon as you make it international, it becomes very complex for you to kind of manage. Let me give you an example of this. You buy a product for $100, okay? And you want to list it on eBay. How much are you going to sell it for? Anybody give me, come on, don't be shy, shout out some numbers. Shout out, $200. $200? But it's eBay. You sell it, so you're going to sell it on eBay US? £120. Okay, we're £120? Okay, £200. It's a lovely profit margin, yeah?
Depends what the exchange rate is.
Okay, is it £100? You're going for a value business? Are you going for massive volumes? You're going to sell it for £80. Okay. Will you actually make any money? I don't know. Is it where you make 30% profit? Again, a question. And is it where you sell it lower than what your competitor is selling it at? Because there's no point in having it priced unless you're actually selling. Or does it depend on the exchange rate? I heard somebody say that. It depends on the exchange rate. It's one of the options you need to think about. Okay, so let's just go into this in a little bit more detail now. A little bit more detail. So this $100 item that you purchased from overseas, I'll use dollars because quite a few people buy from China. So they normally tend to price these things in dollars. Let's assume the exchange rate that you're getting is $1.50 today. So £1 is $1.50. So the cost price of that item to you is 66.67 in sterling, GBP. That gives you a kind of an idea of, right, I know what I've got to hit to make the cost of the item back, plus I've got to add on all my costs and profit and everything else. Great, okay. Now, let's use the same example, but this time let's use an exchange rate of 154. That might not seem like a very big difference between 150 and 154. It is, in terms of foreign exchange terms, and we've seen movements in the exchange rate markets of that within a few days. So that kind of impact can happen overnight on the exchange rates, and it makes a massive difference to your input price. How much of a difference? 2.6%. So we put that in the bigger scheme of things in terms of how much it costs you to list your items, how much it costs you to bring money back, all these listing fees that you get. You kind of start to appreciate that, hang on, with being a little bit clever, a little bit savvy, I can maybe knock out 2.5% before I even start this whole process off. That's pretty important. By the way, the typical bank exchange rate, the retail bank exchange rate that you get is 150, and the typical wholesale exchange rate that you can achieve is 154. So this is also about choosing the right place to buy the currency to pay for your products. Okay. So my top tip number one for you guys to take away today, the top tip number one is ensure you achieve the best exchange rate when you're buying stock from overseas. Massively important to your cost price. The underlying theme there is don't use a retail bank. Don't just go to your bank because it's easy, because they'll take your legs off on the exchange rate. And you don't want to have to pay their expensive fees. So that was all about sourcing internationally. Let's now start talking about selling internationally. Amazon international sites. Who sells on any Amazon international sites here? Okay, we've got a couple of sellers here that are already selling on international sites. So Amazon France, Amazon Germany, big established markets. They recently launched Amazon Italy and Amazon Spain. Again, massive markets that you can target, huge number of consumers, using the local language to really get out to your marketplace effectively. What typically happens is when you sell on these marketplaces, your unified Amazon account or your central Amazon account will collect the sales that you make, and you'll collect those in euros from all of these markets. Then Amazon will send those back to your home Amazon account, which is typically for you guys going to be GBP in the UK. So they'll convert this through your unified account, and they will pay that back to your UK bank account with one of the high street banks. Incredibly convenient. You get it, you kind of sell the product, it automatically lands in your bank account from Amazon. Very nice. But how much does it cost? How much does it cost? 3.5% to 4%. So you start to add these up now. 2.6%, 2.5% to buy the currency in the first place. 3.5%, 4% to bring the money back for Amazon. Listing fees, everything else. Oh my God, how do I make money here? You know, I'm getting bites taken out of the cherry all the way along. So, what do you need to do? The solution is very simple. You use your own euro bank account to collect the euros that you sell. So if you're selling in France, Italy, Germany and Spain, have your own euro bank account. Yes, it costs you a bit of money to have your own euro bank account typically, but you don't pay the 3.5% to 4% that Amazon are charging you. And if your numbers are big and your sales are big, that makes a massive difference. There are some clients that have saved significant sums of money by doing this kind of thing. So just to sort of elaborate how that would work, they would bring the money back so that you can assign a European bank account, which is your own euro collection account. And this can be located typically anywhere. So it doesn't have to be located in the Eurozone for most Amazon international sites. There is an exception to that. There is an exception to that. Can we just go through that? Just before I do that, sorry, the currency conversion cost is reduced to below 1.5%. So you've gone from 3.5% to 1.5% just by using a euro collection account that's your own euro collection, your own account. So my top tip number 2, just before I go into the small exception there, is if you sell on Amazon overseas markets, use a euro collection account to collect your funds. Okay? Don't use Amazon to pay the funds because it's convenient and easy, because you'll pay for the privilege of doing so. Now this was the exception I was talking about, and this was about accessing new markets. The 2 newest markets that Amazon have launched are Italy and Spain. Has anybody looked at these markets? Has anybody been spoken to about from Amazon? Have they tried pitching you and saying list your products?
Yeah, but you need a bank account in those.
You need a bank account. So you can't access these markets unless you have a bank account in the Eurozone. It used to be you have to have a bank account in Italy, but they've kind of widened the net out a little bit. So you can have a bank account in France, Germany or anywhere on the European mainland in order to be able to sell on these markets and collect your funds. So, if you haven't got a European collection account, you can't sell on Italy and Spain at the moment. Now, they're planning to change that, but at the moment you can't.
Does that include Ireland?
So Ireland's a bit of a funny one. I've had a few people say to me that ask the same question, you know, can you do it on Ireland? I've been told by Amazon that it's the European mainland. What does that mean? I haven't tried it. And I've not had any experience of anybody that's tried it. If anybody's tried it and it works, I'd love to know, because it's going to be nice and easy for me to be able to open a bank account up in Ireland for you guys. Sorry, any other questions?
Amazon operating
it doesn't have its own Amazon site. I don't think there's not an Amazon island, but you can ship to it. You can ship to it. Yeah. So again, you can use it.
Should work.
It should work. It should. So the only difference with using a collection account for these 2 markets is that the collection account has to be based on the Eurozone mainland. So you can't have your own. You can't go to HSBC, your banker, and say, "Can I have a euro account here in London or wherever else in the UK?" and it sell. You then start selling in Italy and Spain. It won't work. It's got to be located on the mainland. So use a Eurozone domicile. It's called a Eurozone domicile collection account. That's my top tip number 3 for you today, which is if you want to access new markets like Italy, like Spain, through Amazon, get yourself a collection account that's located in the Eurozone. Okay. What about eBay international sites? Now, eBay is quite popular with our IWOCA members. Who's an eBay seller here? Yeah, okay, almost everyone's going. Okay, eBay are a little bit less friendly towards these kinds of solutions than Amazon are. So eBay do not allow you the privilege to enter different currencies and different collection accounts on your profile. So if you're an Amazon seller, you can say, right, my Italian money I want to go here, my French money I want to go here, my German money I want to go here, my UK money I want to go here. Can't do that on eBay. They just give you one facility, which is your standard UK GBP collection facility. Anybody know why?
Make more money.
This is brilliant. Because they own PayPal, and PayPal make a lot of money from doing that process for you. Okay? But surely that's fair enough, isn't it? They're providing you with a service, and they should be able to make money. Well, I've had a few eBay customers come to me and say, well, they've kind of stretched that privilege a little bit. And let me show you how they've stretched it a little bit. Transfer fee, 1.4 to 3.4%, is that right? Yeah? Okay. Exchange rate conversion loss, 3.5% on top of that. Okay? Oh, by the way, there's on top of that a cross-border fee. So once you've converted the money, you have to pay another one, up to 1%, to bring the money back to your home country. So on top of the listing fees, on top of everything else, on top of the stock costs that you've got, 7.9% of your money could disappear just by bringing your money back through PayPal. Big, big numbers, big, big numbers. You need to start building this into your price when you're pricing things up on eBay. What's the solution? There is a solution, by the way. What's the solution? How can you get around this? How can you cut this out? So there is only one known solution that I know of, and I've implemented it for a couple of people. It's horrible. You form a company on the European mainland. That is the fail-safe way of getting around this problem. Why? Because you're then regarded as a European entity, and that company is the one that lists the products and has a bank account in euros and collects the euros, and then you bring them back to your European company, your GB company, and that company is perhaps a subsidiary of the UK company. A little bit of accounting work required, a little bit of messing about required, but it does kind of work. So you open a European bank account there as well. You use that business to list on the European sites. So what happens as a result of that? Well, you still pay the transfer fee from eBay. You can't get around that. You still pay that. But your exchange rate fee is gone. You don't pay the 3.5% because you collect the money in euros and it sits in your bank account in euros. Your cross-border fee, guess what? That's gone as well because you're not moving the money internationally. If you're selling in France, you set up a company in France and you collect the money in France. You don't move it across the border. So you can save up to 4.5% of that 7.9%. You still have to pay, 3.5%, 3.4%, whatever, for the transfer fee, but it's not free. You have to pay something. But the idea here is to reduce it down as much as you can. Is it worth it? Is what I've been talking about? Is it in terms of setting up this company? Is it going to be worth it for you in your business? Is it a lot of hassle? Yes, it is hassle. Okay, so to set up the company and to get the bank account set up, it's going to cost you about £2,500, and annual running costs are going to be about £1,000. So this is, your accounting and this, that, and the other. And I've probably been a bit, pessimistic there. It might even be more than that. It might be less, depending on how well you can source a company formation agent locally and where you're doing it. Okay, so with a little bit of kind of maths that we put behind it, when does it become worthwhile to do this? I love this experiment. Who's got an idea of how much sales you need to have in euros to make it worthwhile to have this kind of setup? Any guesses?
Over 100k.
Sorry?
Over 100k.
Over 100k? It's not bad. It's not bad. 78,000 euros. Okay, so if your business is generating over 78,000 euros a year from a market in sales, it's worth doing something like this for eBay. Okay? If it's not, you maybe want to consider it for the future, but it's probably worth biting the bullet and saying, I've got to pay this 7.9%. but no, it's useful to know that you're paying that anyhow. There is also the management time and the effort of doing all of this, so I've not included that in. So just be conscious that that's there as well. So my top tip number 4, consider establishing a European or a US-based company if your annual sales in these markets are significant enough. Okay? Don't pay your hard-earned profit away on top of listing fees if you can avoid it. So just to summarise on how you can really streamline your international activities, number 1 is ensure you achieve the best exchange rate from your overseas stock purchases. What that's doing is reducing your cost price. Make sure you're getting the item nice and cheap before you sell it. Okay? Use a Euro collection account to receive money from international Amazon sales. If you're selling on Amazon internationally, make sure you've got a European collection account to keep more of your profit. That's vital. Number 3, use a European collection account to open up new markets. Italy and Spain with Amazon specifically. Access new markets. And number 4, my top tip number 4, if you have significant sales overseas, consider incorporating a business over there. Okay? Keep more of your sales profit to yourselves rather than paying it away to our friends at Amazon and eBay. Hope that's been useful for you guys. Very quick run through the kind of things that we do. If you want any more information, you want to talk to me, I'm going to be around. I've got to catch a train back to London in about half an hour, so I'm kind of probably not going to get a chance to speak to a lot of you guys in any kind of detail. But please let me know. Get in touch with me through Meetup, through IWOCA, through any other channel, through the website, through my email address, and I'll be happy to talk to you about how Currencies Direct might be able to help you overcome some of these challenges. Thank you very much. Yeah, sorry, any questions? I forgot all about that. I was hoping I was going to get away with that. Yes?
Cost associated to opening a European account?
Depending on your volumes, I can give you a European collection account for free. I mean, if you're doing very, very small amounts of money, there is a cost attached that I have to opening up a European collection account for you. But provided they're reasonable, then I'm not going to charge you for having an account open.
Anything else?
Anything else? Anybody else?
Are there any minimums, Deepak? I mean,
there are no minimums, no. I mean, but you've got to think: is it worth kind of if you're doing 3,000, 4,000 euros a year?
no.
What are you going to save on that? 3%? Is that really worth going to the effort of even picking up the phone to somebody like us? Maybe not. But if you're doing a little bit more than that, you know, you're doing 10, 20, 30,000 pounds, it suddenly becomes, and this is a year, not a month, a year, then it suddenly becomes realistically, you know, a saving for you.
I was just wondering if you had any minimums.
I don't have any minimums, no. There's no minimum transaction volumes for me. Yes?
Just, we've got a dollar account already.
Perfect.
So we can't take our PayPal money, the dollars that we've taken, put them directly into that
No,
account.
unless your dollar account is located in the US. It's dollar account here, I imagine, in London,
Yes.
in the UK. So what will happen is when Amazon.com pay you, they will say, okay, it's a
No,
US.
let's talk about PayPal.
Sorry, PayPal. Sorry. I would think they'd still charge you a cross-border fee.
Right.
Then you might get away without the exchange rate fee.
Okay.
But typically, I think eBay suggested because you're a GB seller, you're a Great British seller, you're gonna receive your monies in GB.
Okay.
Yes.
We sell on Amazon to Germany and France.
Okay.
We also sell through eBay now, but we don't do enough sales for it to be worthwhile what you're suggesting there. I get what you mean by not getting Amazon to pay you in sterling because of the exchange rate. So it goes to a euro account, but surely at some point, unless you're buying product with euros, at some point you're going to have to convert those euros to British pounds. So at some point we're going to get hit with some kind of fee, aren't we, or exchange rate?
Absolutely. Look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you're gonna make those fees disappear, and you can never make all the fees disappear. The idea is to reduce them as much as we can. So typically Amazon are charging 3.5% to 4% on the European conversions. You can bring that down to about 1.5% fairly easily. So you can knock 2% off it.
Right. And again, no minimums or
no minimums.
no single transaction fees or anything like that.
There are transaction fees to the accounts that I have,
Right.
but I mean, we should take that offline. You know,
Yeah,
if
okay.
you want to talk, I'll be happy to kind of go through that.
Okay.
It changes according to what the flows are.
Right.
So, but yeah, I'll be happy to kind of talk to you about that. The fees aren't prohibitive, otherwise we wouldn't have the 400 clients that we've kind of gleaned through Amazon.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Better to try to pay Chinese suppliers in RMB to avoid another exchange at the other end?
You can do. RMB's only just come online, maybe in the last year or so. It was a controlled currency, so talking about RMB, which is renminbi, typically Chinese suppliers have always accepted dollars. It's freely tradable in China, whereas RMB, renminbi, the Chinese one, is controlled. You can't get it outside of China easily. So it is in some cases, if you can negotiate a better pricing arrangement with your supplier by paying them in RMB, then yes. Otherwise, it's easier to send dollars. It's less hassle. These have been fairly easy so far. I can answer all of them. Okay, you've been a fantastic audience. Thank you.